Okay, we are live. Yes, there's a little basket there on the table that if anybody has an offering they'd like to put some money in that'd be awesome. It goes to Saturday Night Live and helping us with things that we do here. So, but welcome to Saturday Night Live here in the room and also on the internet. I know we got started a little bit late, but we had some, again, technical issues, and also we had to have a little bit of organizational meeting here. So anyway, I'm glad that you're with us, everybody. And hey, Willie, would you grab my paperwork over on my table and bring it to me while I'm talking? And so I just, a little bit of update for everybody, which we've already talked about it. This is primarily for those that are on video. We will not be having a meeting on Christmas or on New Year's Day, Christmas Day or New Year's Day. We will not be meeting live, and so we won't be here. But on the 18th, we'll be having a little Christmas celebration here. I'm going to have pizza. Of course, we'll have a short meeting beforehand, then we'll have the pizza and a time of just kind of having a party. So. And celebrating Christmas, and just have a little bit of time of kind of hanging out. I think that brings us up to date. Also, we have these bracelets. These are markers for time. And we have several different colored bracelets. We got white bracelets for 30 days or less. We got orange bracelets for 30 days. We got green for 60. We got maroon for 90. We got blue for 6 weeks. We got yellow for 9. We got glow in the dark. They're white, but they're glow in the dark for 1 year. And then gray, 18 months, black, 2 years, silver, 5, gold, 10. And so is there anybody here tonight that wants one, needs one, okay? All right, John will bring them to you here and do that. You can do that right now, can't you, John?
Yeah.
And we're glad that you're here and you want to get them. You need to start.
Yeah.
And also, if for you out there, if you want one of those, just message us, let us know, and I will try to relay that message to the office and try to get you one if that's what you want. Or what even be better is that you come down here to Saturday Night Live and get it. That'd be a great one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd rather us do that. How about that? So anyway, I always try to go with quotes. I think I want to start off with this saying that I think is pretty good. Now let's do. I had this thought. Maybe it's more of a thought, I guess, because it's thoughts, questions, or quotes. This is a thought, and I had this last week or the week before, and it says, "Have you ever thought that it takes a lot of energy just to act normal?"
Yeah.
What do you think about that? Yes.
There definitely is.
Yes, and how can we then just be normal instead of acting normal? Okay.
Practice.
Yeah. Do you lie?
I'm just talking about it.
So I mean, if we're pretending or acting that we're normal, just set that over there in my seat there. Thank you, John. And if we're acting or pretending, then we're not really normal. But I think it'd be a good idea if we practice being, just being, and being our normal state, whatever that is, instead of being. And actually, we're going to be talking about that in my topic tonight, and that's 12 stupid things that mess up our recovery and or life. And I think number 8 is really a really important one that I have a lot of information on, and that probably won't get shared all, but anyway. I've got several marked here, but I think I'll go ahead and hit one more. So what would you like What would life be like if you felt secure and safe and didn't have to worry about being abandoned?
Say that one more time.
Sure. What would life be like if you felt secure and safe and didn't have to worry about being abandoned?
Oh,
A fairy tale.
Great.
A fairy tale,
Yeah.
okay?
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Possible.
Good dream or something.
Hopefully possible in the near future.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and go to the next one, see what you think about it, which ties into that one. How about that? Are we ready? Shall we hold our breath?
No.
Okay. If you woke up tomorrow and you didn't have to fear abandonment, what would life be like?
Different. Yes, different.
Happy.
Mine would be with my kids.
All right?
Better.
Better? Okay.
Happy.
Would it be the same or different? And we pretty much already talked about it. Everybody said different.
Different.
That'd be good. Well, let me just, this next refrain ties in with that. It says, we need to identify what is going right in our life. We need to identify what's going right because we have stuff that's going right in our life, right?
Right.
Even though most of the time we focus on what's not going right. But we have a lot of stuff that's going right. Einstein said we have way more stuff going correctly in our life than going incorrectly.
Right.
That was his evaluation. And he said because of that he believes that that's the reason why this universe was created friendly to humans. We also need to identify what's going wrong. Do our best to change them. So if we can identify what's wrong in our life, then we ought to really work on trying to adjust or fix.
Well, what if it's abandonment?
Well, then we have to deal with ourselves,
Oh, yeah.
right? You can't change anybody else. We can only change us.
That's on the outside looking in, like step outside, do your self looking and try to figure out a good reason why somebody would abandon.
That
like
can
in
be
my
helpful.
case. And I look at it and I'm like, there's no way. But there's lots of reasons why. So yeah, it's like on the outside looking in type thing.
Yes.
Think outside the box type thing.
It's so important to be aware of both the positives and the negatives to help us to navigate through our life. Oftentimes, we only focus on the negatives and we never look at the positives. Like I said right in the beginning about, identifying good things in our life. Everybody got here, so you're able to function. You're breathing. And basically all that abandonment issue is directed towards fear of loss, and if we continue to avoid or deny or run from or escape, numb out, whatever adjective you want to use, then we never ever deal with what's going on, and that's our perception of what's happened. And either we deal with it so that we can fix it with what's ever in our power, or we recognize that we can't fix it, and there's nothing we can do about it, and then what do? We let it go. And that's tough.
Go and dust your shoulders off.
So, all right, we'll be coming back here and talking here in a little bit, and so we'll see how the rest of the night holds. Thanks for being here, and we'll go to Willie. Number one, we made
Just start over.
We admit that we were powerless in our problems and that our lives had become unmanageable. We came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. We made a decision to turn our wills and our lives over to the care of God. We made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. We admit to God, to ourselves, and another human being the exact natures of our wrong. We were entirely ready to give God, we were entirely ready to have God remove these defects of character. We humbly asked God to remove our shortcomings. We made a list of all persons we had harmed and become willing to make amends to them. We made direct amends to such people or whenever possible, except when to do so would injure or hurt them or others. We continue to take personal inventory. When we were wrong, promptly admit it. We sought through prayer and meditation to improve our
Conscious contact.
conscious, I can't pronounce that word, contact with God, praying for the knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry it out. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to others and practice these principles in all our affairs.
Thank you, Willie. Appreciate it.
Did my best.
Hello, everybody. Hello, world. How you guys doing tonight?
Good.
Awesome. Step 12, the narrow road. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to others and to practice these principles in all our affairs. We probably came into recovery because we had enough of the pain, the lies, and the destruction that resulted from our addictive behaviors. One day at a time, we learned the principles on the road to recovery. Now we are at a place we weren't sure we could ever reach. Step 12. Now we are encouraged to share the message with others, even though not everyone will welcome it. Peter pointed out, you have had enough in the past of the evil things that godless people enjoy, their immorality and lust, their feasting and drunkenness and wild parties. Of course, your former friends are surprised when you no longer plunge into the flood of wild and destructive things they do, so they slander you. Jesus said, you can enter God's kingdom only through the narrow gate. The highway to hell is broad, and its gate is wide for the many who chose that way. Read that again. You can enter God's kingdom only through the narrow gate. The highway to hell is broad, and its gate is wide for the many who choose that way. But the gateway to life is very narrow, and the road is difficult, and only a few ever find it. Our message won't be accepted.
Can I interrupt here for a second?
Yes?
I wrote down on that scripture in my margin, playing games. What do you think about that?
What do you mean playing games?
There's a good question, all right?
I have an idea, but
Well, that a lot of people are playing games. Maybe there's a lot of people playing games with themselves and playing games with others. Yes.
can I interrupt you?
Sure.
This, where it said, you're saying playing games, and my thought was, I really don't talk about recovery with anybody outside of tonight because I feel like they're playing games was one of my thoughts. And they're playing games with my recovery when they tell me what recovery is and how I'm wrong. But go ahead.
And that's, and that's some of that Broadway and large gate type of mentality. It's a way of avoiding reality, because isn't it true that we all know, we all really know, but we do mental or emotional gymnastics games
Yeah.
to keep ourselves occupied, diverted, zoned out, or whatever, or we tell ourselves that it's okay for right now because I'm going to change later, maybe, or how about this one? I'll pretend I'm okay, and so that means it'll be okay, even though I'm not really okay. Isn't that another game?
Yeah.
Yeah, Jennifer.
Okay, so back in the day, I used to love playing games with kids, but I don't like playing games with adults that act like kids, was my kind of saying. But I noticed, I know a lot of people from around here. My grandfather, a Pentecostal preacher, my dad, an alcoholic, just the good and bad and pretty and ugly. But I noticed around here, a lot of people didn't get to grow up. Their mom and dads abandoned them, they get with grandma that's drunk and being with the granddaughter's boyfriend, who knows, or whatever, or fist fighting, and it's the same, or they go to the system. And even the system got people, I mean, there's good and bad everywhere, but a lot of people I've known, just like when I came back around, I was in a long relationship, I come back around, and it's like the same people I'm in 8th, 9th, 10th grade with in Joplin High School coming by, like showing me their kicks on their bikes, and it's like they didn't get a chance to grow up, so the whole game thing, they don't know how to make a different choice other than the games that everybody got taught to play. They didn't get taught the adult games, which it ain't games no more.
And one of the reasons why that may be, and I appreciate what you just said there, that's good, helps us to, we need to think, because when we start into our addiction, either into behaviors or into drugs or alcohol, it causes us to emotionally be disconnect, and we stop growing emotionally.
When we started, most of us were young.
And then the abandonment that you talked about.
Yes.
When someone's abandoned, they don't like that feeling and stuff, but if they do it to other people, they don't realize they're doing that. Or they're abandoning it to get themselves away because they're not worthy, and I'm one of them. I've been through everything that I just talked about.
And another way of saying that is they experienced a trauma,
Yeah.
and they carry, and then they live in that trauma,
Yeah.
and then they pass that trauma along to others.
Maybe, sometimes. I heard, in maybe in my opinion, because a lot of people say hurt people hurt people.
Yeah.
Well, I'm one that I've got my butt beat by dudes half my life. Every relationship, it's always been domestic. I don't want to go hurt no one else, but if they put their hands on me, that's another story. But as far as hurting someone, so I can't even agree that hurt people, but it all wraps around with the playing games, which is what we're talking about.
Well, there's many different ways of hurting.
Yeah,
Physical is just one,
mental and physical, and that's what you're,
and
that's
emotional.
what we're talking about, so.
So anyway, you can interrupt us now.
Oh, guys, keep going.
No.
This is good. I didn't have a lot to say tonight. You guys can.
Okay.
Thank
Do
you,
you want
Jim.
me to sing? I'll get up there and sing.
Perfect. I love the way this worked out. Okay, I'm gonna read that again. Jesus said, "You can enter the kingdom only through the narrow gate. The highway to hell is broad, and its gate is wide for many who choose the way. But the gate to life is very narrow, and the road is difficult, and only a few find it. Our message won't be accepted by the masses. The people on the highway to hell won't eagerly restrict themselves to the clearly defined steps on the road to recovery. But for those who do listen, our story could be the difference between life and death to them." I have thoughts. I'm not going to share on that last sentence. My brain kind of went in left field there. My thing on this one was, I think I already said it, I don't really share about what I do in the recovery throughout the week with nobody. Because when I do, I hear from them where I'm wrong or what their idea is, and it has to become, I have to sound just like them or I'm not accepted, so I protect my mental health and keep my mouth shut.
We won't
And
do
just
that.
listen. No, I know that. I feel safe here, so.
Yeah.
But there's been places where people, oh, so what is, they'll ask questions about tonight, and then I'll kind of give them an idea of what goes on, and then they'll say, oh, no, that's not how it goes. And I'm like, okay, apparently, maybe it doesn't, you know? I don't know, but it's what works for me. It's keeping me clean, getting my life together. But then, it says here, and to practice these principles in all our affairs. So then I thought, well, the way I carry myself and the things I do, the way I go about my life, I guess that's how I share. I carry out the message of how the steps work in my life. I did answer the questions, but I'm gonna keep that to myself. And I did do this. Doug asked me a question 2 weeks ago. The benefits of working the steps for me. And it was a mess, but I cleaned it up.
PG'd it?
Huh?
You made it PG?
No, I highlighted and deleted a lot of stuff.
Let's hear it.
Okay. I'm becoming more tolerant of stressful situations in my personal life. Working the steps has helped me in forming a clearer decision-making process. The ability to not constantly focus on negative thoughts. When dealing with negative social situations, I'm slower to take offense and less likely to bite their head off so fast. Working the steps shows me my true self and gives me a new perspective on my life and allows me to see it's okay to accept my faults and how to bring correction to those areas in my life. I must say, working the steps like I have been also gets me in tune with my positive qualities that I tend to overlook. The steps have given me a new, fresh outlook on life.
I like that. That was a good cleanup.
Well, on the question number one, I was interested in what you were gonna say about 1 Peter 4:1 and 2, and the pain of recovery,
Well, let's go look.
okay?
Yeah, don't run away from the pain.
Well, the narrow road to who passed of the evil things that godless people enjoy, their immoralities and lusts, and feasting and all. Yeah, well, you know what I thought about that?
Not yet,
I'm getting ready to tell you.
okay?
Is I was so tired of trying to find somewhere to feel better through all this pandemic and lockdown and no social interaction that I did end up at a few places where it was like, yeah, you know, I gotta go. I just don't fit here, but give me the drugs and I'll leave. And I found myself more alone, more hurting, more scared, more down emotionally, that I kept trying to find somewhere to go that I could get past that, all that pandemic, social distance, like just the loneliness, you know. And I come here and no one was here. And I didn't know what was going on, like the world was so different. And so I found myself trying to go back to a life that I knew I didn't live no more. It was highly uncomfortable. And then you reached out to me after I finally got a hold of you. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Did I answer the question?
Yeah, you did a good job.
Well, I don't, You actually kind of did,
I think I danced around it the whole time.
but let me interpret what you said. How about that? And the main part of those two scriptures that I think is significant is, let me find it here. I've got it printed out. This is 1 Peter 4, the last part of verse 1. It says, for if you have suffered physically for Christ, you have finished with sin. And that's kind of a challenging thought to even try to grasp. But what you said was, I went back, I realized the pain of it all. That's not where I wanted to go, and that I decided I needed to make a change. And you started looking for that, and things opened up. It's funny how things open up when you go looking for it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like drugs. If you go looking for drugs, you find them too, right?
Even when you're not.
Yeah. Although unconsciously we may have looking for them. But the point here in this scripture, and it's talking about the pain of recovery, is that when we finally come to the place of understanding the pain of our sick and unhealthy choices, and we understand the pain of it for ourselves, we finally say, it's enough.
Right.
I don't want that anymore.
I can't do this by myself.
I can't, I don't, it's retarded for me to inflict myself with that same sickness over and over and over. That's not what I want. Even if you can't stop all of it, you're still heading in the right direction because you recognize the pain of it and you know it's self-induced pain.
The definition of insanity.
Yes, and as you continue to work through that harming self less, then and making healthier choices, and that's when you're, according to that scripture, is basically saying you finally come to the place that I'm done with it. I'm done with sin. It's using sin as a representation of all sick or unhealthy choices, right?
Makes sense, yes.
And so, and when you're really sick of it, then you say, I'm done. I've suffered all I need to suffer because I know what the right choice is. Now I just have to start making that right choice, that healthy choice. Jennifer, you want to say something?
Okay, so when you first started talking, you said something about, like, and I'm not sure if you, because you were into whatever the word is for him. So if suffering physically for Jesus or God, then you overcome sin or something to those words.
Well,
Is
but
that
the
something
the scripture that I read here is the last part of it is, for if you have suffered physically for Christ, that may be what you were referring to,
Yeah,
you have finished with sin.
okay.
And when we recognize our suffering, we made the choice to suffer, right?
Right.
Yeah, maybe we were inflicted with stuff, okay, but then we made unhealthy choices to inflict that suffering. And see, real suffering occurs when we know we're making unhealthy choices.
When you're suffering from it.
Yeah, and I continue, as Chris said, I continue to do the same thing that I've always done, and expecting different results, which is insanity, okay, because we're trapped, and our brain is trying to lead us down the wrong path, but our heart and our spirit says, no, you know.
I think,
Had enough.
I think that's the hardest thing about meth and stuff like that. Meth actually numbs you. And with people that have so many, like me for instance, I've had 2 rotator cuff surgeries. I get injections in my spinal cord. I got physical and mental, so much different things. And meth is something, and I think that's why around here is so big with meth, because there's so many people that's lost their mom or lost, even if it's their parents abandoned them or lost it to car wreck or anything. There's so many people that go through pain, and meth is something that actually numbs it. Hydrocodone, stuff like that might numb it for an hour or two, but meth actually, whatever, you know, cause it's poison or whatever, it actually numbs it, so I think that's the hardest
Yeah, it
thing.
destroys part of your brain.
Yeah,
So
and
it's
that's the
not-
hardest
never-
thing, when
That
somebody,
never really numbed me, it just made me crazier.
Yeah.
well, that's,
It does happen
when
to some
somebody,
Yeah.
when somebody goes through pain and they don't wanna feel it, do something to make them not them, and when
Right, well,
somebody
it's all
feels
escapism,
worthless.
yes.
When you feel worthless, you wanna end that worthlessness, and meth's another way to die.
And that worthlessness is that form of suffering,
Yeah,
because of the traumas that we have affected, that have affected us. And actually, trauma actually changes your brain too.
yeah,
So when we come to the place that we finally realize we've suffered enough, and that was some of your first scriptures right out, or statements right out of the book, is that when we finally have come to the place that we say it's enough pain, it's enough sorrow, it's enough
In-
sickness,
in
it's
the
just
war.
enough.
ending the war with yourself, the war. I've got PTSD, I've never been to war, but war on the streets, war with myself. There
Absolutely.
comes a time where you can only deal with so much pain or so much, and then that's when it's giving it to God. And like what he was saying a minute ago, on stage towards the end.
Yes, and what he read there about his dynamic and coming, looking for a community, which, what you just referred to, all of that acceptance is healing.
Well,
It
that-
helps us
Yeah.
to start to overcome that sense of abandonment that I was talking about earlier.
Get tired of abandoning yourself, so it's time to pick your, yeah, that's what I had to do. I kept letting people knock me down, stab me, not necessarily, I haven't been stabbed,
Yes,
barely
yes,
once,
yes,
that's
yeah,
another
well,
story.
that's kind of what
Get
I was
tired of
thinking.
it and eventually put a shield on and be like, no, I'm not gonna hurt myself no more, nobody else is
Good.
going to, I'm either
Good.
gonna make it or break it type of
Good.
thing.
Which leads us to that next thing we need after all that, is that neuroplasticity.
Yeah,
What is that?
You know what that is?
yeah.
Like,
Well, she's working on it.
when you got it up there, don't you? You remember what it is exactly?
Sure I do, I know what it is.
Tell
You're-
You
But
always
the
say
trouble
that.
is, what neuroplasticity means, neuro is your mind, your brain, and plasticity is being able to change,
Use
to
things.
adjust. And the trouble is, our brain can adjust in the negative, or it can adjust in the positive, it just depends on what stuff you're feeding it.
Right, just like you were saying about trauma,
Right.
like me having post-traumatic stress syndrome, around here, I'm not gonna say it cause we're in church, what I really think that means, but
I used to know the definition perfectly.
PTSD, put up with too much dang crap. But they spelled it wrong because it's Joplin and everything flip-flopped and I think everybody around here has got PTSD.
There's a good possibility.
Yeah, so, but the trauma thing, it changes the chemical balance and everything in the brain
Yes,
and
it does.
in my brain, I know it did. 'Cause
You got a hand way back in the back.
Yes, sir?
Hey, this is to Doug, but, I guess.
I'll see if I can answer it for you first, though.
My age, okay, the neurosurgeon I see Tuesday, my age and my brain in, what did I tell you, Doug, earlier?
What you want me to repeat what you said?
They're not matching up
Yeah,
right
yes.
together.
I mean, I can say it, but I didn't know if you wanted me to say it, cause it will go
Yeah.
over the internet.
But you think that's from all the meth?
Are you legally allowed to answer that question?
Yeah.
Well,
We know the answer.
I don't think
Said
all
thank
of
It
that.
is it's more complicated than that, but fact of it is, there's a good probability that it did not do you any good and probably did you harm, and the reason why you did what you did was probably because of some other issues and traumas that you were trying to deal with, as Jennifer said a moment ago, and all of that, and you were talking about it, and I talked about your telomeres. Your telomeres decide how long you live on your DNA strand,
That's
And-
the word she used.
and how we deal with ourselves in our thinking, in our emotions, and in our behaviors, and in the healthy or unhealthy things we do affect all of that.
Right.
But does that mean it's permanently done? No. Because of neuroplasticity, that 25 years ago, they said you couldn't, once your brain was damaged,
It could be fixed.
you're out of luck. But that's not true. It wasn't true then, but they didn't know it. Now there's research that shows that if you can change your brain, the physical real estate in your brain, the matter in your brain can literally change for the positive. Is it easy?
No.
And that's like the
But it's possible.
or what is it, the happy hormones or whatever. I'm trying to
Manic.
say.
Just a new
And
experience.
so, what is it?
Manic,
What?
manic.
Manic, but what's the chemical that makes somebody happy? In
Oh.
your,
Well, there's,
Serotonin?
Huh?
Is it serotonin? No.
well,
pheromones?
no, serotonin makes you calm, but there is you're probably thinking about,
Is it barotones?
no, it is, well, one was, I was gonna say the cuddle hormone, but I can't think of what it is right now.
Oxytocin.
Oxytocin, that is a cuddle hormone, but you're probably thinking about starts with a P.
Okay, well, with that being said, whatever it's called, and there's things that like, when you eat fruit, make you, just like the fruits help do all that, antioxidants help do this or that.
Yes,
And like with the brain and stuff, like they're saying, nowadays, they're saying you can rebuild and you can do this and that, so medically, if somebody's unhappy, eat the stuff that makes people happy, that gives you the chemical to build your body up to that. Or something.
that is part of the element. It's not the whole story, but that's part of it.
Yeah, so
It's hard to create something out of nothing. So if you have the materials there, but then you have the right thought and emotional process.
the
okay,
want.
Because, we gotta clean up the stream
I
here
was gonna
so
say,
that
you
the
need
good
to put
stuff
good things
can
in
be
your body.
more effective.
Right.
You follow me?
Right.
And that's the reason why being in healthy places, with healthy information, with healthy connections, with support,
Healthy
and
food.
with some security, nurtures our being to help us, our spirit, if you will, okay? And as Tommy said, we cannot heal alone, even though that's what we've all had tried.
Right.
Back to you, Tommy. You're
What?
taking way too long, I just want you to know.
Sorry, I was ordering a cheeseburger at Sonic.
Uh,
I knew anything about that.
Just have them deliver it.
Are you
I
sure
really
you're not
was.
Are you
I was ordering it for 9 o'clock.
Order through DoorDash.
He had to order the pizza for the 18th and it took him like,
Anyhow, I can multitask. Thank you. No, I don't know. Step 12's weird because
Step 12 covers a lot.
well, it's like I don't know, telling me I need to go out and teach people the 12 steps, and then but I was like, well, I don't know. I don't get it. I don't know where I'm going from here with the steps into like next year when we start over.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
You know,
why
it's
not
like,
become a counselor
eh,
or something? If you know the 12 steps and learn how to teach them,
I don't,
Yeah, he's still working.
I don't wanna go that route. Does that make sense? I just wanna be a normal human being.
yes, and that's okay. And because see, we we affect everybody around us in what you were saying a while ago, in our beingness or in our acting out of our everyday character life. Because you help people and you touch people and you affect people and you influence people. And the fact of it is, we all have influenced people all our life.
Which is be normal.
Sometimes we influence them in the wrong way, and sometimes we influence
I
them
don't
in the
wanna
right
be
way.
normal like that.
It's weird, it's like,
It's weird.
it's like
a paradox.
four-wheeling.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like four-wheeling your whole life, like off-wheeling, four-wheeling, cause life can get rough. And then going to a paved road that's smooth. It's like, that's scary, cause most people I know haven't been down that paved road, neither have I. It's like taking the smooth route is like, what's gonna be at the end of it? What's gonna be on the way? It's not the same way as four-wheeling and that excitement of like going over a big rock or two. I'm not gonna say that, but, it's scary. So
It
normal to me is like, what is normal?
Cause like I've really been
Yeah, what's normal?
up here doing this, like, I mean, it's,
Setting on your washing machine.
What?
I think we're all normal, we're just,
yeah, setting on the washing machine,
yeah. it's
suggested setting in your freezer, that's, you know.
Suggested, suggested.
Normal is different for everybody. I don't think there's one definition that covers normal.
Yeah, that's why I think you're normal right now. You're normal.
And you are, you're normal for yourself.
I'm normally who I am, and
Yeah,
I'm learning that.
exactly.
That's something, okay, I'm learning that there's a lot of things that people in my family would say, well, you know, if you weren't on drugs, you wouldn't act like that.
Well, yeah.
And then now that I'm not on drugs and I'm acting like that, I'm like, kinda like, well, that's just me.
Well, yeah, it is kind of.
And so I have
They were
to,
all wrong, weren't they? But you were different.
well, back then they had enough, yeah. I forget, you might have known me back then.
No, you know me.
That's all I got.
Okay? Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Well, like a lot of ammunition out of that, I don't know what I'm gonna use. Although, sorry, I'll go back a bit.
Can you speak that one more time?
Yeah.
Although we may be and are through with sin, when we go down the right path, that doesn't mean that sin is through with us. Even though we have won the war, that doesn't mean the war is over, because every day that you are living on the earth, every day that you are breathing air above ground, you are going to be tempted and tossed about by earthly wants and desires and earthly problems that may include your drug of choice or a drug that you haven't used that you want to experience, or whatever your problem is, it will come back to haunt you as long as you're alive. But as long as you keep your eyes upwards instead of around you, instead of looking around you, you keep your eyes on the sky. You keep your mind on the sky and not on the earth and what's around you, you will be better. I'm not going to say you won't fall, you won't make mistakes, but you will be better. You can pick yourself up and do better the next time.
Right, and hopefully it don't take too many times.
Hopefully it won't take too many times, but you remember the Israelites, they went around that mountain for 40 years. Hopefully it won't take us 40 years going around the same mountain. But every time we go around the mountain, we learn how to do it differently and stay out of the ditches. Take care, have a blessed time.
Thank you, John.
Break time?
No,
No?
this is Doug time.
Oh, I like break time.
Doug time. I don't know, Jennifer, if this is what you were trying to think of a while ago of the molecule of dopamine. Is that the one you were trying to think of, dopamine,
I think so.
that motivates you
it makes you, it gives you a boost. Actually, they say that dopamine, actually, without dopamine, you actually don't do anything. It helps you to move, motivate, or whatever. And it also, your brain will give you shots of dopamine to encourage you to continue to do those things, to reward you, to keep you motivated in doing things. So, how's that? All right, we've had a lot of discussion here. I have less than 30 minutes to go through my 12 stupid things that mess up recovery. I want to have some dialogue, but I think maybe I ought to go to the one that I think is most beneficial. And actually, I learned a lot out of studying this particular one because I was curious, and that was stupid thing number 8. Confusing self versus concern with selfishness. Okay?
A lot of big words in a small sentence.
Yeah, confusing self, right, with basically selfishness, right? A lot of people put that together and they think that if another word for self is like self-centered or loving yourself. A lot of people have problems with when I say loving yourself because they see loving yourself as the same thing as selfishness, right? That's not so, but a lot of people, it's been distorted. And
as long as you love yourself and love other people too, and balance it out, you're fine, right?
well, that's what this is talking about here, and we'll try to go through this. And let me just go ahead and say this: the most interesting part of this is that in life there are the positives and the negatives, like a magnet. There's the positive side and there's the negative side. You don't have a magnet if you only have one side, right?
Right.
Right? And
Or a battery.
or in everything, in life, in the world, in the universe. And there are two sides to everything, okay? And oftentimes we only want one side, okay, of things. But it's the mixture that creates a balance in life. And even saying that, a lot of people pull back from, okay? Because we have this denial mentality, which God gave us to survive, but it didn't help us to live or thrive, it's usually all or nothing. We want all one way or all the other way. And I like what they said in this information that oftentimes it's kind of like being in bed. We either fall out of the left side of the bed or we fall out of the right side of the bed. We either go extreme one way or the other, okay? And here's the definition of self, and that is our personal level of suffering is related to the degree of alienation from our true self. Okay, so what is that saying? It's saying we cause ourselves suffering when we abandon, okay, your word that you used a while ago, which was really good, when we deny or abandon or withdraw from our true self. Okay? All right? Excuse me?
Can I say something?
You may. If you don't take as long as you did during your step.
Oh, when I just stood there?
Go ahead.
I forgot what I was gonna say now. Oh, my true self. I had a situation today, and I had to face my true self of, am I just gonna let it go, or am I gonna say something? and then I had to go through how am I gonna say something?
Good.
Good.
And then when I went to say something, the person I wanted to say it to wasn't there. So I faced a new issue. What do I do now? So I wrote them a note. And I was negative in my head, but I wrote it politely,
Nice. Get it right then.
and I left them a note. But I kept going back to it like 10 times. Like, I think we got on the elevator like 10 times. Like, how am I gonna handle this? Because my true self wanted to like just blow up.
Well, I don't know that that was your true self.
No, well, okay, that's, you're correct.
Maybe your old true self?
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
You're developing.
The way that I would have handled it before, because it was an old.
As Apostle Paul put it, in the scriptures, is we have a lower nature and a higher nature.
Yes.
Okay, it's our, our flesh nature or, lower nature, or our higher nature, and that is who we truly are, who God wants us to be, how He's created us to be. Okay? So, congratulations. Now, did you do everything perfectly? Probably not, but it's a whole lot better than before, right? So congratulations. It's progress, not perfection.
Instead of just hiding from it.
Yeah. And we're going to be talking a little more about that in this self versus selfishness aspect. And so, was there anything else where I go on? Okay. Another way of saying the same thing that is that our level of disease, dis-ease, is related to our and how we're fragmented and disconnected we are now, and cut off, and how cut off we are from our true self. Right? Because oftentimes we abandon ourselves so much that we won't even be able to allow that part of us to have a voice. Right? Right? And so if we cut ourselves off from that, then we harm ourselves. But really the best practice is to be able to back up from ourselves and listen to that part of ourselves, like you did, Tommy. You did that. Okay? You fought with it, but you did that. Which you backed up and listened to the healthy, spiritual, higher nature to be able to go through that and say, this is the way I want to be. That's not what I choose to be. Or that's what I used to be, but that's not the way I am now. Okay? I am being and becoming different. And that's the process.
You know what I noticed though? In me processing this, I was creating more ripples because people were like, what are you doing? And I ignored them.
Can I say something?
Sure.
This is kind of towards Sean. Sean dealt with stuff today too, and I'm not sure about Chris and what all, like with the girls. Okay, so I'm not sure what all, and then him, you're wanting to go beat someone up, whatever the words are.
Right now, I want
okay.
to beat this lady up.
Well, I have a nephew, he's my sister-in-law's nephew, but we raised him.
Yeah.
And about 5-6 years ago, a buddy of him told him, he was 20, 21 at the time, maybe he was 19, I can't remember how old he was.
Yeah.
So 5-6 years ago, he says that this guy had touched him, this older man. Well, this kid that told my nephew that, and my nephew go over to this old guy's house, and the one kid was beating the heck out of this old dude. Well, Anthony, my I'd say ex-nephew now, because it's my sister-in-law. He jumped in and he chokes this guy out, he kills him. He didn't know he was gonna kill him. He just choked him out until he thought, just to get the other dude stopped beating on him, and because he's hitting with table lids and all kinds of
So that's
crap.
like what I was thinking today. Am I gonna harm this situation
that
even
quick.
more when it's really not important? But
Yeah.
to me, it was important that I had my voice heard.
He's been in jail since 2015, he's not getting out till 2030. He is 19 or 20, 21 years old.
Oh, wow.
All all it was, he said it went so quick, like, just choking him went so quick, and when they got out there, he didn't even know he did that, so.
Yeah.
As far as people went
It can happen.
hurt people and stuff like that, that's,
And you can be in a blackout state and you don't even know it because you let it run away with you.
yeah.
My thought was, is
So, I
If I
think
did-
you did good.
if I did what I have, just let them know. But me leaving the note, is that gonna cause them to feel like they need to put more out there, to make me have to have more? Like, and I was like, after this, I'm just squashing it.
Yeah, go and dust your
That's
shoulders
what I
off.
was gonna ask you next, I wanna know if you think you did it right.
Well, there's a whole lot that we don't know.
Yeah.
And the fact of it is, I can tell you this though. He did a lot of things right, okay, because he didn't do what the old nature wanted to do, okay? So, and this right statement is, did he do it perfectly? There's no way to do anything perfectly,
That's
okay?
like where the normal comes in.
So-
too, after
so-
normal.
So and the only way that we really know for ourselves, to answer your question succinctly, is that if you feel good about what you've done, then you're rewarding yourself because I feel good. Maybe I didn't do everything absolutely the very best that I could, but I'm better, so I feel good about that. And so you're heading in that direction. And I can't say that was whether that was good or bad or healthy or unhealthy. I just know that what he didn't do was very healthy.
Well, how do you feel after you're done? Did it feel good?
No, I didn't have really any feeling.
And
I didn't feel satisfied because I haven't got,
Cause you don't know if they accepted it or not.
I just know they won't, it's just their nature.
Well, at least you let it go, you went, it's like
And-
when you,
At least you did
and see, the thing of it is,
I can't
it's
come here with it on my conscience.
it's a learning process.
dust your
And it's
shoulders
so
off.
small.
Yes, but it affects all of us, and the idea here is that we learn from every situation, and as you learn from it, then you build on how I function next time. And hey, listen, there are no absolute roadmaps to and through life. It's on the job learning, training. So if we allow our heart and our spirit to help us, here was a saying that I thought about saying earlier, and it's an old saying. It says, asking yourself a question, and maybe this might be applicable in your situation, and that is it necessary? Is it kind? Is it honest with love?
I signed it with a smiley face.
There you go.
Is it beneficial to either them or me?
Yeah, and so those are things that we can ask ourselves. But I've gone almost 15 minutes here, and I haven't got through the first, and that's okay. But let me,
Can we do it on Christmas too? Like finish whatever.
Well, we got-
18th?
I don't know, but we'll see. Usually I never get finished anyway, so I usually go on. So anyway, let me see if I can do a synopsis here. And that is that recovery is a salvage operation, okay? And that we are actually trying to recover our lost self, right? We're trying to do that. And so oftentimes we disown and have fragmented parts of our being, which is right along the area you were talking about being abandoning yourself. And that in order to become whole, we need to integrate all aspects of ourself. And what that means to me is that I use my hand as an illustration that sometimes we have these different aspects of ourself. You know, the old nature, the new nature, the good-hearted me, the mean me, the defender me or big bad guy me or whatever those aspects because we kind of fragment as we go through life, and sometimes these aspects of us even war against the other aspects. And so, but what we need to do is bring healing and wholeness where we integrate or bring all of our parts together, because it's very important for our overall individual health. So hopefully that means something to you. Another way to describe the process of recovery is to think about it as recovering our emotions and our spiritual development. We're trying to heal ourselves. Recovery is not just getting clean and sober. Recovery is about being healed on the inside, being restored, okay? And changing our thoughts and our behaviors, not by force.
But as fast as possible.
Yes, you ought to do that, but it's not that you're forcing it, you're just being something different. And you allow that healing, because you can stop substances, but the trouble is, oftentimes we trade substances, okay? We trade one addiction for another addiction, or multiple addictions. We'll quit this and start doing that, right? And because we haven't went to the healing, and we'll talk about that in the other 12 things. And so what we need to do is, most of us, we need to develop and arrest at the, our emotional development, as I said earlier, actually was arrested when we started into our either trauma or using or our acting out, that we actually shut down our development process, because we go into a panic mode. And neuroscience says that when you kick in your amygdala, PTSD you're talking about, when we do that, we shut down the other parts of our brain, and our brain is literally not able to function because we're all in survival mode. So, because who needs to think if it's all about survival? And something that's been in the last 10 years from the newest information that I've got is what they call CPTSD, and that is some refer to it as child PTSD or complex PTSD, and they say that happens before the age of 18, and that affects your ability to function. It alters your brain, and it also messes up your ability to emotionally regulate yourself.
It's kind of like, wouldn't it be kind of like boxer syndrome, like what they say about boxer
Absolutely.
syndrome?
Absolutely, yeah.
Like the chemicals in the brain from getting hit
Yeah.
and throwing off.
Yes,
your-
yes, yes. So, all right, let me give you a synopsis of this. The issue here is, let me read this medical and psychological literature demonstrates the importance of love for survival. It's saying that in the sociological and also medical literature, that it says that a loving relationship is important for survival. It goes on to say that this, if we are in a loving relationship, we live longer, we recover faster and better from physical illnesses, we commit fewer crimes, according to the literature, and we even make a better living. You like that, Chris?
Yes, I love that.
And
They're screaming, yes, yes.
yeah, yes. And so, and see, we have these we were talking about these opposing forces, and this is one of the opposing forces of the self, and this is the first side of the force, is that we're trying to be connected to people and please people, okay? People pleasing, right? But if we're not careful, we can get enmeshed in other people and that's unhealthy. But it's also healthy depending on how balanced it is. And so you need to have the balance, and the balance is that part of the self that we were talking about, the integrated self, the idealistic self, who you want to be, the person that wants to sing their own song and go their own way and master their skills and become proficient and grow and develop and move forward in life but if we do that and we're really focused on that, oftentimes we do that and sacrifice the relationships of those loving relationships we were talking about. And so the bottom line here is we have to have them both working and balanced in our life. We have to be able to be individualistic enough to be us, what God's created us to be, to grow, develop, to move, to be creative, to create our own way, to sing our own song, but that we don't do it at the expense of others, and that we are able to integrate ourselves enough with others that we care about them, and that we relate with them and connect with them, and that we enjoy them and have that loving relationship, but not so much at the expense of ourselves.
So the self and selfishness and all that kind of goes with that, right?
It's self is not selfishness, okay? Unless you go to the place that I want what I want by the expense of everybody else, okay? Now that's selfishness. But self-centeredness or self-love or the self is trying to be that God created us to be, to walk our path, to do what it is that we're doing. Like if we just use me, I've always wanted to help people. I do a lot of things to help different people in different ways. I've learned different powers to do that, but I tried to have my identity and be me all the time in every arena that I'm involved in, because in my earlier life I had to segment, because I had a problem with this dynamic right here, is because if I'm a minister, then I can't be this, and I can't be a minister if I'm going to be this. And so, that was a problem to me, because that meant I was not authentic all the time. I wasn't me. So I had to bring them both together and be me all the time, all the way, and try. Not that I'm 100% effective, but I made that choice a long time ago. I was going to be a person that believed in God and ministry and love and purpose for people, but at the same time as being a business person and being able to make choices and even make hard choices that may be hard for some people, but it was actually healthy, and that I wasn't trying to harm them, but at the same time there were principles that I needed to follow, and I had to work all them out. I had to merge all of me together. Does any of that make sense?
Yes.
And so what we're talking about here in number 8 is being able to be an individual, be enough of an individual, but also enough to be a people person, okay? And I think Jesus demonstrated that, okay? I think he did. He's our best example of being able to, because I spoke in my Thursday video about boundaries, and Jesus had boundaries, and they were healthy boundaries. And he said, let your yea be yea, and your nay be nay, you know, but, you know, you don't have to be mean when you speak the truth. You can speak the truth in love. And be aware of how that truth is going to come out. And that's the reason why kindness, and I talk about kindness a lot, kindness is so important. You know, the three main rules of humanity is be kind, and be kind, and be kind, okay? And those are the three main rules of humanity. That doesn't mean that you don't do some hard things. That doesn't mean that you're not your own individual. That just means you're kind, because there is a tremendous value, according to the research. If we just rely on research, it affects our life in a positive way. Okay, does that make sense? So selfishness is a pseudo-independence. Okay, pseudo-independence means it's all about me, and it's at everybody's expense. Okay, now I don't remember which teacher this was talking about. Well, I know it was Dr. What's his name? He wrote 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Anyway, he talked about that the best relationship, even though you can survive on the other relationship, is where we're totally reliant, we're able to stand on our own, but we're also, he called it the M relationship, M as like man or married, but we are able to stand on our own, but we also are able to lean in. I guess it's like this, lean in to each other, that we're able to lean on each other. And so we are able to do it on our own, but life is better when we're also connected.
So you were a minister all the time?
I am me all the time.
That's what I got out of it.
Am I not?
What? Not a minister?
And am I me?
It's me all the time.
Do I?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I try to be me all the time. Am I? Of course, you're new here. Was it Sean?
Yeah.
You're new here, so you don't know, but I try to be me all the time in whatever arena that I'm in, whether I'm with a banker or a lawyer or a judge.
For some reason, to me, you seem like more the minister than anything else. For some reason, I don't know why.
Yeah.
Maybe church, but
Maybe.
you're a minister all the time.
I am, but I'm all these other things too.
Right.
And so, because that's some of me, and I want to be authentic. I want to be real. Kind of like we was talking about Jim Butler a while ago. We were doing a job together on one of my houses a long time ago. This is back in the 70s, probably. Anyway, he was cleaning out. He was throwing rocks out a window that he was cleaning out of the back window, and he threw this big old rock out of this window and hit me right in the ankle. And it was a big one. And Jim's a big boy. He's not a boy, but he's big. This is probably, who knows, 30-some years ago or maybe more. And he come running outside and he says, take your boot off, take your boot off. I said, no, I'm not taking my boot off. Because you take your boot off, it's going to swell, and I'm done for the day. And I wasn't going to be done for the day. And he told me later, he says, I really knew you were who you say you were, because you didn't say a word. And he went on and said, well, you didn't cuss or anything else. And I didn't. And it wasn't, I had to go on, okay, right? But it's just the way it's just the way it is. Hey, I'm glad you're here. We're about to wrap up. There are some snacks and stuff over here if you like some. There's coffee, some tea. You're welcome to that if you like. So we have these two dynamics, our being self or self-centered, that being who we're supposed to be, that individual self, and then that relationship-oriented being, and we're trying to mix them both in to where they work together. Now, how to have a perfect fit, that's, that's not the way things are, normally speaking. I mean, even in the world, in the universe, as far as the positive and negative charges, it's never exact. I mean, one's a strong force and the other's the weak force, but they're both important and they play such a big part. And I'm saying, being confused about it and then spinning out mentally and emotionally puts us in a negative state. I'm gonna read these real quick, or try to, and then we'll shut her down. All right, the first stupid thing is believing addiction is one substance, and it's the problem.
Believing what?
Believing addiction is one substance, and it's the only problem. Okay? 2 is believing sobriety will fix everything. Because we've talked about that a lot. Sobriety doesn't fix everything. It's a beginning, but it doesn't fix everything because the substances were normally a management of the core issues that needed to be resolved. And that's why we talk about recovery here so much. Number 3, pursuing recovery with less energy than pursuing addictions.
There you go.
Okay? That's a stupid thing that messes up. We need to be actively involved in our recovery. Number 4, being selectively honest. This is the big one. We could have talked a long time for that. Maybe we even will next week. I don't know. Jennifer wants me to. So, selectively honest. Because we're honest about some things and we're not honest about other things. And then, one of the great ways to lie is to leave stuff out. Have you ever noticed that?
Worst lie, right?
Well, I don't know if it's the worst one. Yes, sir?
Lie by omission.
A lie by omission. That's what that
the Bible
is.
says is the worst.
Yeah, okay. Number 5, feeling special and unique. I've got quite a bit on that, and oftentimes we think, well, I have my own plan, I won't work the 12 steps, I don't need it, it's just gonna be Jesus and me, or we say, we make up all kinds of things because I'm special, right? And I'm unique. Number 6, not making amends. We know that we need to make the amends, but we're unwilling to make those amends, and if we don't do that, even though we've gone through that process and it's sitting there looking at us, I'm not saying I want to force you into anything, but if it continually pulls on you, that means the Holy Spirit's leading you that way, and if you don't, then all you're doing is poisoning your own soul. Because the amends is not for the other person, the amends is for you. Right? Okay, number 7, using the program to try to become perfect. You was talking about, and see, there's no way for us to be perfect, and oftentimes, if we set it up that the program's going to make us perfect, and we don't make us perfect because there's no way for it to make us perfect, then we give up and then shoot ourselves down that toxic rabbit hole.
Some people think ramen noodles are perfect, some people think ribeye steak is perfect. I'm just saying, perfect is whatever, it's like being normal, it's what somebody chooses.
Well, actually, one definition of perfect is flawless, but most of the time in the scriptures when it talks about perfect, it is referring to being mature.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can still make mistakes and becoming mature.
So that's like perfect ramen noodles, they're mature.
Or at least knowing when to be
Well,
mature,
I like dry ramen noodles too.
Which is trying to get better day by day, one step at a time, right? Number 9, playing futile, we kind of already touched this earlier, playing futile self-improvement games, lying to ourselves, playing games, mind games, pretending to be something that we're not. I know a lot of people in the early days used to say, I don't I don't wanna get keychain, things because I don't wanna be lying and all that good stuff. Number 10, not getting help, for relationship problems. We need to have, the 12 steps helps in all kinds of areas, but there are some specific things, and you may need some other intense help, particularly in relationship, because, what was it say, that 1/3 of all folks that relapse has to do, man, was it 2/3? It's either 1/3 or 2/3, probably 2/3, relapse because of relationship issues. Would you agree with that?
They say in, when I did anger management class years ago for domestic and stuff, in relationships and even abuse cycles, you got the honeymoon, the tension, the blowout, the honeymoon, the tension, the blowout. It's like a roller coaster ride type thing, and it's hard to get away from. Because then you start, it's the same way with drugs. You got the high, you feel okay, and then you're coming down, feeling like crap, and then the blowout. Like, done.
And that's all because of emotional
Yeah.
dysregulation.
Self-abuse or toxic abuse to relationships, stuff like that.
Number 10, not getting help we already heard that, not getting help for a relationship. Number 11, believing that life should be easy, Number 12, using the program to handle everything, which we kind of already touched on that. So, I'm sorry, I ran 10 minutes over, but anyway, we'll see what happens. I don't know what the topic is for next week, and we'll figure out from there. Do you know?
We do.
Well, Zach's doing next week, so,
Yes?
supposed to. And you're doing the week after that, you're doing it on party night.
Oh, I'll never forget on the party night.
Yeah.
Do what?
Never forget.
Never forget?
Right.
Okay.
I have
Yes.
an idea.
All right.
Maybe come up with 12 steps to better addiction.
We do, we
Like
have,
different ways.
we do have 12 steps to better.
Holiday steps.
Or even like whatever steps to better, like
Uh,
when I get depressed and wanna go hit somebody in the face, I'll go spend time with kids or do something creative.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
And replace.
Oh, you're
it
talking
with
about distraction
hatred
tools.
into love and.
Hey, I got one for you. When you get focused on negative stuff, and I did this one today, name 3 animals with the letter A, name 3 animals with the letter B, name 3 animals with the letters, go through the entire alphabet.
Yeah.
And that demands your focus. Some of them are easy, you're able to come up with.
Do
Some,
insects count as animals?
do I? Yeah, that's.
Name 3
That might be
animals.
impossible then.
So, may the Lord bless you and keep you, and may your face shine,
This got really.
His face shine upon you and give you His peace, and make healthy choices. Okay? All right.